Hello, solopreneurs. I am so happy to be with you today with the first time I am airing the Solopreneur Live podcast as a live stream. This is by necessity, you might say. I really like the process of creating my podcast and my videos separately and then publishing them. But, tech sometimes just gets in the way. And until I can improve my computer situation, the software I am using to create my files is just bogging down my computer. So we're going to try doing a live stream. And you know why? Because Kant never did anything. And I'm going to explain that to you today. It is actually one of the rules I live by. And I'm going to share with you actually 3 of those rules that are just guiding principles for my life. I'm also going to explain to you why it's such a big deal that I'm doing this at this moment. Welcome to the Solopreneur Life podcast. I am your host, Catherine Aragon. And in this podcast, my goal is for you to learn what it takes to build and scale your business so you can enjoy the freedom and flexibility that comes with being in control of your own life. You don't have someone else calling the shots for you. Now, this only comes with the Solopreneur Life, but there are so many things that go into it. And we're going to talk about 3 of those things today. And it's all mindset. But before we get started, I want you to take a minute to subscribe. You can like this channel and also subscribe to the Solopreneur Live podcast wherever you like to tune in. Now, let me just begin with this. This has been actually one of the hardest months of my life, and I've had some doozies, let me tell you. I am actually in the middle of a move at this moment, which means that it's entirely possible that someone will knock on the door and start bringing in furniture. I mean, that's how in the middle of the move this is. We moved from Austin to Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. During those 2 weeks, my father passed. Our furniture has been 2 weeks in the coming, so we've been sleeping on the floor. Just one thing after another. So I went ahead and scheduled today's podcast for today because I feel like Friday noon Pacific, that's a good time for me. Little did I know that was when the movers were going to decide to bring our furniture. And trust me, there is no way I'm telling them not to bring my furniture. So here we are. It might get a little noisy. It might get a little messy. But you know what? That's what the solopreneur life is like. We do the best we can to schedule things, but life happens, right? And our job is to, deal with it, to move on in spite of the chaos. Because in the midst of that chaos is your freedom and the flexibility you have to coordinate your own life and to work around all that chaos. Because let's be honest, life is chaotic whether you're a solopreneur or not. This way, though, I get to decide, will the show go on? And to me, yes, the show must go on. So here we are. And what I want to share with you today is sort of a tribute to my father. As I mentioned, he passed just a few weeks ago. On July 10th, I was very, very fortunate. My husband finished up the packing of the house and dealing with the movers, so I could go to him and spend those last few days with him. That was a really, really big deal to me because, as you know, I've got a spinal cord injury. And for the last 10 years, I haven't been able to travel much at all. So we haven't seen one another. And that chance to catch up and say our final words was incredibly important to me. You may hear my voice crack a little. This is just me dealing with my life. The truth is, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about the different lessons that I have learned from my father. And honestly, this isn't the first time. It's not like this brought it on. I've actually talked about some of these things in my blog posts over the last decade. But, it's all fresh right now. So let me share with you a little bit of what these lessons are and how they've impacted my life. Now, my father didn't probably realize he was teaching life lessons. He was probably just trying to get a little kid out of his way. But there are things that he did and my mother did that created in me a very independent and a very confident nature. They didn't raise wimps. I'm not the only one of us, and all three of us are independent, strong people. We are able to do hard things. And a lot of it is because of the way we were raised and these three principles that we were raised on. Now, when my sister was born, she's the first and she's the first girl. My mother told my father, I do not want us to raise girls who are being told all the time they can't do stuff. So whether they realized it or not, they were early feminists. And it's funny because every now and then they'll say something, I'm like, that doesn't line up with the way you raised me. But the truth of the matter is, they wanted me to feel like the world was open to me, like I could do anything I wanted to do. And that brings me to this first lesson, which, trust me, it was pounded into me. And that is the phrase, can't, never did anything. Now, I mentioned that just a little bit earlier, and seriously, this one is like, this is the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, so much so as I don't even think of the words anymore. I just do it. What does this actually mean? Now, as a kid, I would be trying to do something. And of course, oh, I can't. Oh, this is hard. And you go running to a parent, right? Asking for help. Now, my father, his first reaction, just right off the bat, was can't, never did anything. Go figure it out. That sounds harsh, perhaps, but is it really? Wasn't it instead stepping into that role of saying you can do anything you want to do? You just have to try hard enough. And that's exactly what I walked away with. I might initially think I can't do this. And then I was told, yes, you can. Go try again. Well, in all the years of being told that and realizing, you know what, if I put in that little extra effort, I can do anything I want. That developed so much confidence in me. I honestly come to just about any task I tackle with a can-do attitude. I am right now sitting in what is almost an empty room. My desk is, or a desk, is in the room. It's still covered with furniture pads. There is no sitting at it at all. I am sitting at egg crates with a board across them because can't, never did anything. I need to be able to do some recordings, and I can't, where am I going to do it? I can't call it off, and I can do this if I just figure it out. So for me, I'm just setting up a temporary workspace, and we are getting this thing done because it can be done, and I know that. Now think about how this can't, never did anything could impact your life. As you set goals, you don't think small if you feel like you can do anything. You set big goals, you set audacious goals, and you tell yourself, yeah, I can do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe I can be a basketball player. I don't believe I will ever be an opera singer. But I'm talking about, like, within reason, goals that you are fully capable of achieving. Why not be audacious? Why not think bigger? Why not think grander? Why not go for broke? Come on. Are we ever holding ourselves back saying, I don't know, that sounds hard? Who the flip cares if it's hard? You can do it if you will put in that little bit of extra effort. And if it matters to you, you'll do it. Now, when it comes to trying new things, this one for me is funny because I grew up in an age when, before computers, everything was pen and ink, everything was permanent. And so in those early days of computers, my mother was one of the first people to learn computers, and she taught me. And some of those early jobs, I got paid really well in my college years because I knew how to use computers. But that was before Microsoft Windows. We used DOS. And yeah, it was complicated. It was really different. And initially you come to this machine And you've got this mindset, this pen and paper mindset where, oh gosh, I don't want to break anything. One of the first lessons that we learned at this time was everything's fixable. You can always undo. You can always fix a mistake. And that's another aspect of can't never did anything. Listen, anything you do is fixable. Anything. So again, don't hold back. I honestly believe I've been in interviews where people say, "Oh, tell me about a failure and how you handled it." And my gut reaction is I don't fail. That's not even in my vocabulary. And the reason it isn't is because I've learned over the years that I can do anything if I just keep trying. And yeah, I'll make mistakes along the way, but those mistakes don't add up to a failure. And they don't add up to I can't. Can't never did anything. That means I can't fail. That means I will make mistakes, but I can try anything and I can keep trying until I get it. Can't and failure should not be in your vocabulary. Everything is fixable. Everything is doable. Now let's look at lesson number 2. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So we've just gone through this exercise of, you can do anything you want to do. But now you have to decide, do I really want this? Because if I do, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. This was the lesson that, again, pounded into our heads. Don't do anything halfway. Give it your all. If it is worth doing, it's worth investing your time, your energy. It's worth investing your best. Are you holding back? Are you giving a half effort to your business? Because let me tell you, if your mission is worth doing, it's worth doing right. Now, there is this thing that I've been thinking about for the last, 3 months, I think, and that is your work is your reputation. So how well does it stand up? I have worked recently with a lot of freelancers as I'm growing my agency and I'm hiring contractors to help me perform some of my client work. I'm working with a lot of different mindsets, and I've got some people, it's like, man, they nail it. To them, they understand if it's worth doing right. And they are the first people I call on. I've got a couple of writers. It's like, man, they meet the deadline. If they can't meet a deadline, that I know in advance that it might be a problem. And I have already said, yeah, I can deal with that, or no, I can't. These are people who always meet that deadline. They always give me good work. So going back and editing their writing, it doesn't take a lot of edits. I can trust that they're giving me their best. But then I've worked with other people, and it is so obvious that they aren't doing the research, or they're starting the project on the day it's due. And then they're saying, oh gosh, I just couldn't finish. It's like, you're a professional. Why didn't that get done on time? I don't even understand that, because guess what? If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Your reputation is on the line. When you turn in a project, people are going to judge you and your business on the quality of work that you turn in, on how easy you are to work with, on how professional you are. Do your business. Treat your business like a business. It's not a hobby. If you're trying to earn money, you are actually running a business. So treat it that way. And if it's worth doing, I want you to commit to do it right. That means give every project your very best, no matter how big or how small it seems, no matter how profitable you think it's going to be long-term, because guess what? I have done so many small things with people, and they were so impressed. I mean, I forgot about it. It wasn't a big deal to me, but based on their impression of me, based on the work I did, they recommended me to other people for bigger and better projects. I have some amazing clients today based purely on recommendations from other people I've worked with. Because to me, any project is worth doing right. And I tell you that This is so important. First, can't never did anything. But second, if it's worth doing, it is worth doing right. Give it your whole attention. Give it enough time. Care about the outcome, not only for you, but for your client as well. Because you know what? It matters. It really, really does. Now, lesson 3 is a little bit different because the first 2 are so obviously business related, right? This one is, it came out of our years camping, and it's always leave it better than you found it. Let me explain how this one comes about and how it really did impress me, whether I liked it or not. I grew up camping. This is what my family did. The whole time I was growing up, Daddy would come home from work, say Thursday night, and go, we're going camping this weekend. Just that fast. And we did this so often. We had our gear. Each of us had one backpack, and we knew how to pack it. We knew what we needed. We had a camper in later years. In early years, we had a big army tent. That was uncomfortable. But the camper was a great upgrade because it had a lot of stuff just built in. Other stuff, we had to go grocery, get the cooler filled up and stick it in the door, things like that. We could turn around a camping trip just overnight, just like that. And many times we would go to this private property where we were the only people there. And yes, we left it the way we found it. We might have to dig a latrine. We might, but you wouldn't know when we left that we had been there. But there were other times. We had a handful of favorite campsites. One of them in particular, I'm thinking about East Texas State Park. It was beautiful out there. Maybe it was Tyler State Park. I can't remember the name of it, but it really was beautiful out there. We enjoyed, all the lush greenery, the lakes, the activities for us kids. It was a fun place. But, we're coming into a campsite where other people have been, other people who don't care about nature as much as I was raised to care about nature. And so we would set up camp. It usually was dark when we got there. We would enjoy our stay. And then on Sunday afternoon, we would be packing up, getting ready to go, and we would clean up our mess. Well, Daddy would look around and say, nuh-uh, that's not good enough. Go clean up the rest of it. And we were like, that wasn't our mess. We didn't make that mess. And Daddy would always say, we leave it better than we found it. Always. So what did we have to do? We'd sigh, I can't believe we have to do this. But we would go around with our trash bag, picking up other people's garbage that they had left, that they had littered the campsite with before we got there. We left every campsite better than we found it. Literally, everywhere. I'm sure the campsite owners loved it when we drove in because we helped them keep their place nice. But this applies to everything you do. Everything. Think about your client. You come in, they have a problem, and you come in and you do the assigned project. But maybe there's something else you see they need. Can you leave them better than you found them? Or are you just coming in, taking your money, leaving, not doing great work, not doing everything they need, just taking the money and running? That's not leaving your client better than you found them. If you come into an industry and you're brand new on the scene and you're wanting to make your mark, the best way you can do that is to leave the industry better than you found it. Bring your insight, bring your fresh ideas, remake how things are done. I'm watching some really innovative content marketers do just that. And they're impressing the socks off me because they're coming into this staid industry. This is how we've always done it. And they are shaking things up, turning things upside down. And I'm go back going, okay, I'm seeing opportunities now because of the way they're doing things. I'm seeing there are new ways we can be doing things. They are bringing fresh ideas and leaving the whole content marketing industry better than they're finding it. That's how you need to do business. And this applies. Client projects. Leave your clients better than you found them. People you work with, can you treat them right, please? Let's be kind to one another. Let's elevate one another. Let's not be, I know it's good to be competitive, but not bad competitive, good competitive that lifts everybody up. And communities you're a part of. Can you be nice and supportive and generous and share what you know? Because when one of us does well, we all do well. That's the whole point of Solopreneur Life and the Hub membership that I created there. It's a place where all of us can come together and help one another succeed, help one another do better, because we need to leave things better than we found them. Now, these are the 3 rules that I learned from my father. And history books will never record his life. You will probably never hear about him except in this podcast. Franklin Shadwell was a great man, but he didn't do things that were earth-shaking. He did make a lasting impact on me, my brother, and my sister, on the people he met. He made an impact. Now, looking back, his career wasn't something he pursued. It was something that just kind of found him. He went to college and they told him, they probably asked him, what do you want to do? And he probably said, I don't know. And they said, go into engineering. That's the future. Well, it was until the 70s. And in the 70s, there were, the economy dried up and there were a lot of layoffs. And he just got tired of dealing with the politics and the layoffs and all of that garbage. He walked into the house one day and said, you know what? I'm starting my own business. We moved the dining room table out of the kitchen. He put up his drafts board and he launched mechanical and pneumatic systems. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but he built incredible machines and systems to help people solve engineering problems. It was impressive. He'd sit in his black chair in the den and lean back, staring at the ceiling. I mean, you could just see him thinking. The wheels were turning and you'd say, what are you doing? And he'd say, I'm trying to figure out how to move sand that's got the consistency of water. He was trying to move it on a conveyor belt without it spilling over. Now, that's a problem that you and I probably don't think about very often. But you know what? Kant never did anything. And even though it was a tough problem, he sat in that chair and he thought until he figured out how to do it. Another time, he had brought home some equipment, something he had built. It was on the back of a trailer, and he was kind of showing it off to us before he delivered it to the client. I had never seen anything he built. So up until this point, and I was still, I don't know, maybe I was a teenager, maybe I was still just a girl. I hadn't seen this stuff. So everything he did was very conceptual. He has a business. He draws things on a drafting board. And that sounds a lot like the stuff I do, the writing I do, so a lot of it up in the head. But this thing, it was impressive. I was like, it was like as if I had gone to John Deere and I'd seen a tractor. It was that finished, that polished, painted. It was beautiful. And suddenly I understood what he did so much better. And I probably offended him because the words out of my mouth was, it looks real. But think about that. Think about your business for a minute. How many people really think what you do is real? Think about the little comments you get. Oh, well, if you get a real job. Why? Because my business isn't real? Well, inadvertently, I did that to him. But he left. He fought that battle. I mean, he was working from home for a while until he finally was able to afford an office and afford employees. And actually, he ended up employing my brother, my sister. I think my mother worked with him for a while. And before he actually was hiring anybody, I typed letters for him. I mean, we all kind of got involved in this business. But it was a masterpiece for him. It was a living legacy. Because you know what? There are now 2 generations of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who are following his footsteps. He left a legacy of people who don't believe they can't do stuff, who honestly believe that they can give their best and it will make a difference, who honestly believe they can leave the world better than they found it. My father did leave the world better than he found it. He did. I look at the impact that he's had on me without meaning to. It was just those words of my mother. I don't want my girls growing up being told they can't do stuff. And out of it blossomed all of this life lesson that I think guides all of us, all of my family. Now, I talk a lot about, I know it's the solopreneur life, right? And I bring to you some of my life every now and then, like podcasting on the floor because I don't have furniture because I'm in the middle of a move. But a whole lot of what I teach you isn't how to. I will teach you how to. That's going to be embedded in all of this. But a lot of what I teach you, a lot of what I bring to the table is mindset. Because you can learn step-by-step procedures for anything you need to do. It's all over. You can take a course, you can read a book, you can actually mentor under somebody and learn how to do something. But if your mindset isn't right, you will never make it. What I'm sharing with you today are 3 mindsets that can make a gigantic difference in your success. But it starts with, okay, what is success? What do you even mean by that? You don't have to be worthy of being in history books to achieve greatness. You really, as a solopreneur, all you need to achieve is minimum viable success, minimum viable goals. For me, that's paying the bills. I paid for this house cash. That means a lot to me because what that does is it lowers my monthly overhead and it reduces stress for me because I'm able to manage my finances. We'll talk about finances in another show. When each month my income is high and my expenses are low, that's my goal. For me, that's my minimum viable success. You have to think about what yours is. It's probably paying the bills, but maybe there are some other things built in. For a while, it was paying for my daughter's wedding, paying for my children's college. You know, there are things that are going to move in and out of your life that are important that you need to be able to accomplish. Maybe you want to impact other people. Maybe you want to make a difference in the world. You have a mission, a message that you want to share with people. And maybe that's what you're after for your definition of success. But ultimately, I want you to think about it like this. Always leave the world better than you found it. Like I said, my father did that. He left this world on July 10th. And the lessons he taught me will continue to guide me the rest of my life. I mean, these 3 are the 3 that, man, they guide everything I do. I would like you to step into these same 3 rules for success. Apply them to everything you do because I promise you they're going to make a difference. Success isn't all about riches or exotic lifestyles. It's not about being the most impressive or powerful person in the room. It's about deciding what you want and making it happen. And here's the deal. You can make things happen. You have so much more power than you probably realize because Kant never did anything. Just a little bit of extra effort and you can do anything. If it's worth doing right. And we can and should leave the world better than we found it. This is what I want to leave you with today. I hope it's as meaningful to you as it is to me. I actually recorded this podcast twice yesterday, and neither time did the technology work. So some of the tears happened in those early episodes. I'm so proud of myself for getting through this without breaking up. But I do want to leave this with you. You are so much more than you may realize. You can go so much further than you realize. And these 3 rules will do it for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Solopreneur Life podcast wherever you tune in and visit us at the website, solopreneurlife.com. Next week, I'll bring you another amazing episode. Friday, 12 Pacific. Tune in. And in the meantime, Stay awesome.